Thank you. My name is Mark Hass. I do represent Beaverton and lots of unincorporated parts of Washington County, and it's very nice to be with you again today. I want to thank Senator Bonamici for making sure that we had something to do on our day off. You remember the girl in our high school math class who always raised her hand and wanted to know what she could do for extra credit? Well, she came to the Oregon Senate. Some of the previous speakers have kind of touched upon the budget issues that we have, and I thought maybe it might be best to step back for a second and kind of set the stage for what's happening down there in Salem right now. But as you know, the legislature meets every other year, and when it works on its two-year budget, we have two-year budgets in Oregon, most of the work is for the two-year budget that starts July 1st. And the previous two-year budget's already been put to bed. But this year, all of the teeth gnashing and the hand wringing that you've been hearing and the cuts and all of this have been about this budget that we're currently in, because tax collections have been in free fall since last fall. And so that's very rare for that to happen. But as you heard, we're almost $1 billion behind what we thought we were going to be for this year that we're in right now. And so there's been lots of scrambling for money and lots of cutting and using the stimulus money in this current budget. And we're not totally out of the woods yet, even though we still only have a few months left. There's probably going to be a May forecast that will show that things are even a bit worse than we had thought. It was very important to me, and I know some of the others, that we get through this budget period that we're still in without having to close school years down early, as we did 5 or 6 years ago. And we were able to do that with a series of, I think, some cuts. The schools cooperated. A lot of the people in schools, teachers and classified personnel, put off raises and pro salaries and did a lot of that. And so we were able to kind of finesse that and get through it. Now comes the work that we're really supposed to do, and for the next 2 years, and I don't think we're going to get off that easy. And so my fear is that there's been this commotion about spending and cuts and how are we going to get through this, but we were able to somehow manage. And I detect kind of in public opinion that, all right, we've gotten through this, the worst is over, and now we can start recovering back to normal. The fear that I have, and I think shared with others, is that it's going to get much worse, that school years will be threatened, and that we are by no means out of the woods. It's sort of like we just walked into the woods. And there will be very difficult choices in the coming months ahead for what we do in terms of cuts, raising revenue, and all kinds of combination of winding our way back so that we can have a good school year, or at least almost as far as we've gone before, so that we don't kick people off of mental health services, and so that we don't drop more people from the kinds of programs that they've been used to, people whose lives are already very, very difficult. So I wanted to kind of put that into perspective. And the way I've approached that this year is, you probably heard this phrase that you never want a good crisis to go to waste. And so I've looked at a couple of places where I think we could look at in terms of consolidating and working smarter. And one of those is in a very obscure area of education called education service districts. And I have been wanting to consolidate ESDs for 6 or 7 years. Charlie Ringo and I used to work on this, but we could never get anywhere until now, because money is so tight. So we're working on a bill, as Suzanne mentioned, I'm chair of the Senate Education Committee, that would consolidate ESDs from 21 to 11, and if nothing else, reduce 10 layers of administration in Oregon. Administration where there are superintendents, assistant superintendents, deputy superintendents, payroll people, accounting people, personnel people, and trade in those superintendent jobs for the kind of ESD services that are truly needed. Speech pathologists, special needs teachers. That's the purpose of an ESD. ESDs were originally formed for small school districts that couldn't afford one special needs instructor, so they would kind of pool their resources, and these people would sort of ride the circuit. That's why they were formed, and that's what makes sense. What makes less sense, however, is why ESDs are in the big urban school districts. And that's what we're working on, and that's what I hope we'll be able to pass through at the end of this session. The other area of consolidation that we're looking at is in higher education. And there has been a long-running debate in Oregon about whether we have too many universities or too many community colleges. And we're not going to end that debate in this legislative session, but I can tell you that we will pass, I think in the Senate next week, a higher education consolidation bill that does a couple of things. It will order the university system to have one common application instead of 7. It will order them to have one software system for admissions. And they will start tailoring down, so we don't need an admissions director in each campus, a registrar in each campus. And it makes those kinds of administrative changes that I think have been long coming. It will also ask them to look at some of the campuses, most specifically the one in Bend, which was just built about 5 years ago, to find out why there are so few people going there, which is driving up the costs and being absorbed by every one of the students everywhere else. So I think you can look at this budget situation that the state is in as a very dire situation, and it is. But then you can also look at it and try to perform a sense of budget jujitsu and use this situation to try and consolidate where you wouldn't have been able to in good times, and to not just save money, but make the system better. So thank you. I look forward to your questions.